Hello, welcome another Thursday. This is the Etch Play weekly live show, and I am once again joined by Tyre. Tyre, how are we doing?
We are doing super well, Dan, thanks.
Excellent, I'm glad to hear it. So we've got another week off for Adam. So you and me again. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to how we get on today?
Yeah, super excited. We've got lots of fun things coming up.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off as we normally do with the news. Let's have a look at some headlines. There's been a few major headlines again in this wacky world of the games industry. First and probably the most exciting thing of all, as regular viewers may be aware, I put my pictures up. And at Master Leaf, the office plant is back in the building. So, that's exciting. Polygon, GI Biz, if anybody want comment, then they can come to me and I'll pass comment on that. But in actual news, another week, another major acquisition in the games industry, and this week it was Sony's turn to grab our attention with the announcement that they are acquiring Bungie, the studio behind Destiny and the original developers for the Halo franchise, and this is a deal worth $3.6 billion. So some people might think that this was kind of a knee-jerk response to the Microsoft Activision acquisition, but of course these deals don't tend to happen that quickly, and it's very, very likely that this has been something that's been in the works for a very long time. Supposedly has conversation started before lockdown, and things started to come together 5 to 6 months ago. Sony has said that Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio with the option to self-publish and reach players wherever they choose. That's probably a good thing for them to say with their kind of demands on or expectations of Microsoft and the Activision deal. And the Sony's Q3 earnings call, they said they plan to launch 10 live service games by March 2026. Which makes the Bungie acquisition make even more sense, and perhaps a shrewd strategic move to bring Bungie into the fold. Sony are looking to expand PlayStation's first-party reach with a combination of AAA single-player games and multiplayer games. Hello, Steve. Welcome. You missed the last stream. Well, don't worry, because you're here for this one. So we're just talking about the Sony buying Bungie news. Tyre, what's your take on it?
I think it's very interesting. I think it seems like we can't go a week without some kind of acquisition, but as you say rightly, these things take years to come about. So obviously Sony has been working in the background, getting this deal, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I quite enjoy Destiny every so often, and I want to see kind of what else Bungie will be able to do with the sorts of money that Sony can hopefully bring to them.
I made my first mistake, played the wrong bit of B-roll, and not only did I play it too late, but I picked the wrong bit of B-roll to kick us off with. Kind of relevant because it was still Halo, so Bungie were the original developers behind the Halo franchise, and it's just so interesting how these things go full circle like that. So Bungie made Halo, undoubtedly Xbox's biggest franchise. They were very much kind of in the Microsoft fold. They then departed, and now here we are being picked up by PlayStation. In other news, staying with PlayStation, the PlayStation sales have started to slip, and sorry, just getting the B-roll updated there. Although the next generation consoles released around 15 months ago, there are still, unfortunately, supply issues and some gamers still unable to get their hands on the console. This has affected PlayStation sales, as Sony have just reported an 8% year-on-year dip over the holiday period for their games division, down to $7.1 billion from $7.7 billion. First-party sales were also down, however that was to be expected, as last year there was a bumper lineup of titles releasing, whereas this year game release delays pushed titles such as Horizon Forbidden West out of the holiday period and a bit later into 2022. So yeah, we've had a long period of releases being pushed, and seemingly that plus the supply chain issues have had a bit of an impact on on sales figures. Just the 7.1 billion. Sad times. What do you think? Do you think we're at the end of the kind of the release delays, or do you think we've got more of that still to come?
I mean, every year, whether or not we are fighting kind of with the supply issues and COVID-related things, games tend to be released. You know, they're really complex projects. Things can sometimes go wrong. So I think we'll still see a couple, hopefully not as many. And hopefully, I know some people have still not been able to get their hands on the latest PlayStation 5. Hopefully this will be the year that they will get it, because it's been a while now since it's been out, and yeah, still no luck for many people, sadly.
Yes, well, good luck to everybody who's going on the hunt this year. So staying with the theme, more Halo news. Halo is coming to TV very soon. So over the weekend, a new trailer dropped for the long-awaited live-action Halo TV series, which is due to release on March 24th on Paramount+. Reception has been mostly positive, although there has been a mixed reaction to the look of Cortana, Master Chief's AI partner. Jen Taylor has reprised the role, however in the TV series, Cortana has lost her blue tinge and hologram-style appearance, which some fans don't seem too keen on. Tyre, Halo on your TV? Keen for that?
I am keen. I've not played a lot of Halo other than kind of the recent multiplayer fun that we've been having with Adam and Ben. So maybe this will be kind of the intro to the universe that I need to get me over the edge to go and play some of those games, because the word is they're amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of big Halo fans on the team. Yeah, I'm excited. I saw the trailer. Looks good. I'm a big fan of the whole Halo world, and a big sci-fi nerd. So yeah, it's everything in it that I would like. I'll definitely be checking that out. So, final bit of news. UK Games Fund receives 8 million in government funding. So the UK Games Fund is a UK initiative, government-backed, to support startup games and entertainment sector organisations. So the funding will be made available to companies who are eligible and aims to provide support in the early stages of business, as well as resources for studios and solo devs who are creating new games across the UK. The wonderful Joe Twist, CEO of Yuki, has said Yuki has consistently called for the invaluable UK Games Fund to be extended, and this is a welcome vote of confidence in our thriving games industry. The UK sector is a global success story that is both a critical exporter and a source of extensive inward investment. This support will help the next generation of businesses access the finance they need to build the games to do that, while creating high-value jobs across the whole country. Earlier this month, the UK Games Fund awarded 12 grants to indie studios, with each recipient receiving up to £6,000 to support concept development. Since 2015, over 170 projects have been funded, valuing over 5.7 million. So overall, I think that can only be seen as a good thing. Support going to smaller devs. We obviously only hear about the larger studios. As we were talking before the show, like 8 million, like it's a very welcome. I think it's not going to go too far. We'd definitely like to see more of that, but yeah, certainly we wouldn't grumble. Any thoughts on the UK Games Fund, Tyre?
Not much to add apart from, yeah, it's a really great thing, and I think it's great that there is something in place there to really help those smaller studios, those solo developers, because you know, making games is hard and it's time consuming and it's money consuming. So being able to kind of take some of that stress away through a fund like this, I know it's going to really support some of the most creative endeavors that are happening from those kind of smaller creators. So yeah, excited to see what will go next.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. The UK Games Fund would not fund his Morris dancing game, which I think I find unbelievable, Steve, because that just sounds like the sort of quirky, joyous thing that we need in the indie game space. Maybe you should give them another chance with the latest round of funding that's coming in. Right, so should we have a look at another game, see if we can drive people a little bit mad with my game playing skills again?
Hopefully this game is going to make people a little bit happier. I didn't know people could get frustrated at nice little dwarf romantic. But you did it, Dan.
Yeah, I'm good at it. So maybe you can just introduce what this game is whilst I get this set up.
Yeah, no problem. So today we are playing the incredible Pupperazzi, which is a game that lets you take pictures of dogs, and that's pretty much as far as it goes, and that's why I love it. It is absolutely ridiculous, it is beautiful, it is adorable, and it's a lot of fun. I've spent some time in Pupperazzi. You know, there are quests that you can do to get like currency to upgrade your camera, which is a lot of fun, but mostly you do end up just running around petting dogs, which I think every game should be, basically. So Dan's just gonna go through the kind of like the mini tutorial.
This is the first time I've clicked the start game button, so yeah, we thought we'd just get me in perfect position to be awful at a game. This is the wee grey one in front of the shop. So here we go. I mean, I'm already enjoying this. Aim your camera with the right mouse button. There he is. I'm assuming this is the wee grey one.
Look at his little booties.
He's got boobs. He looks a little bit sad. But there we go. There's my photo that I've taken. I can post to Dognet. It's a dog. Save to favourites. Ouch. So this is a first-person shooter, but you're shooting pictures, not guns. You can run.
Fun fact, you can look at yourself at some point during the game, and I'll leave that little snippet of delight for you to find out about.
Nice. I mean, look at these dogs, and I love their bouncing.
The animation is just amazing.
And walking on water.
You can pet them, which I think the tutorial will show you how to do at some point.
So should take a photo of this little chap.
Look at him. He's so cute.
There he is. Post to Dognet. This fella is such a cute dog. Wow, you're pretty close. Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. People like close-ups.
So, have I just keep taking pictures? Is the name of the game for now?
So if you press tab, if you go into your objectives,
objectives. There we go.
You can have a look at different things. So you already taken a photo of him. So but were you crouching when you took a photo of him?
Right, no, I wasn't.
That's the secret to photography right there.
Yeah, a bit of a golden bone down here.
Yes. So that's the currency that you can use to buy lots of fun things.
Oh. Right, so let's get a crouching shot, because we didn't get his good angle, I think, is the...
There we go.
There we go. Tick. That one's done. Get 5 followers. 2 more followers needed. Let's post this one.
You got 5.
There we go.
So if you complete it, I think at the bottom of the screen, you'll get some new ones.
Shop is now open. Find a vending machine to use it. So complete that one as well. And now pet dogs. Walk up to them and interact.
Now the real fun begins.
Photo of the lighthouse. Right. This here is the dog feed dog world. Right. So we can pet dogs now.
Yes.
Which is what we are all about. Let's just rush up to this.
This is where the real game begins.
Oh yes. Ah, look at that.
And if a dog is happy when you take a photo of them, you get more points.
A crashed shot there. That one's definitely got to go on the old dog net.
Oh, you got 3 points from that. There we go. Because he was happy.
Right, like that one. We can get different lenses and film. So we've got to take a photo of the dog and the lighthouse. So that's not what I meant to do. I'm going to put my camera. There we go. There's the lighthouse. Oh, look at this. Let's get a nice.
Who's going to be your
I
muse?
think this one is just right for it. Let's give him a little pet first. Oh yeah. There we go. Like that.
Yep. Now you're going to get it.
Nice. You need to stay back a bit, mate. Okay. You can just be right in my face.
I think it's because he loves you. He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to be far away.
Fair enough. You can have another little pet. There we go. Look at that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we'll complete that one. Some more points there.
Yeah, you're gonna get famous.
Followers. Take a photo of a friendly dog. Oh, we've done that.
Yep.
Perfect promo for the shop. 3 bonks. Princess loves to see her friends play around. Photo of a dog playing with a stick. Right, let's see what we can do about that then. This one's just going to stay following me, so I guess we're going to go and find... Oh, there we go, there's a stick glowing nicely. How very convenient.
Very convenient. It's a very, very difficult game, you know. There's a lot of challenge, a lot of
my twitch
strategy.
reflexes are really helping me here. No, we're doing this.
They're all very excited that you got a stick. Oh,
What did I do with the stick? Oh, this guy got it.
and because you dropped it, they got it.
There's absolute scenes at the dog park. Oh, he's got it again. Good dog, good dog. Oh, you've nicked it. I mean, I feel like this is everybody's ideal day at the beach.
I mean, I would pay money for this.
Let's get these guys playing with their stick. They're all playing with a stick. Look at that, the glee on this chap's face. Complete.
That's beautiful. That's such a good photo.
Rotate the camera into portrait mode. Now we're talking.
Oh, now we're getting into the technicalities. And that's the thing. While I do love it for its silliness and hilarity, all the attention to the actual photos is really interesting because
The long arm of the photographer.
he loves it. The further you go through the game.
My word.
Oh. He also wants to be involved.
You can have some there's dogs everywhere. Tickling on the butt. Alright, let's get this stick off you. Can't get the stick. Right, yep, I was carried away with that. Let's post you to dognet, post you to dognet. Log off and relax, stop spamming. Oh, I was getting a bit excited there.
Oh yeah, I think if you post too many in one day, or in one location at one time, you can get a little bit sad.
Oh dear.
You have to really think about which photos you're going to post, because you don't want to try and get
I
as
see,
many
this
points
isn't
as
just,
possible.
don't just post any old junk.
Yes.
Right.
So if you go and find the shop, you can maybe get an upgrade for your camera.
Is this the shop? Or is this the...
Yeah, the vending machine.
Okay, do I want this stick or this stick? Formerly part of a tree. Interesting. Right. Go, go, go.
Oh, you nearly got it.
The other one. Oh, there's an infinite. We can get camera parts as well.
Yeah.
Fisheye lens. Oh,
So you got 4 bonks. So you could have a look at what you maybe want. Maybe a fisheye lens, or oh no, you can't get that.
Yeah, I can only get the black and white film, but that does sound quite arty. Maybe we do that. Like, who wants to be in my black and white masterpiece? I think this big dog here.
Oh, I think that's a Saint Bernard.
It does look like a Saint Bernard. Let's equip the. Oh, we've got filtered black and white or black and white. The filtered. Look at that.
Oh, perfect.
I'm happy with that.
You just feel all your worries melt away.
Oh, okay. It really doesn't like me posting pictures at all. Don't they appreciate art?
I know, that's very artsy to be fair. Black and white, portrait mode, crouched. Perfect. So,
Explore, see what
yeah.
I can find.
You can have a little explore around the beach, or I believe you can start going to the next area now that you finished the beach.
Do you know where the next area is?
So, I think if you go into your settings, I actually can't remember how you get out of there. I think you might need to go to like a map in your tab.
Oh, leave area.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I only played this like a week ago. I've already forgotten how.
Oh, look at this. So we've got the home area. Let's go and have a look at the lighthouse. Little exclamation mark there.
I think that's where you came from.
Oh, is it?
But I think you might get some new quests if it's got a question mark. Or an exclamation mark, sorry.
Scoopmaster Timmy wants our help.
Oh, look at him with his little hat.
Tongue hanging out. Different
At
dog
some
photos for
point-
science.
At some point you will get hats to put on the dogs. And then it just becomes the perfect game.
That's what games have been missing.
That's what games have been missing. There is a game
Hats for dogs.
I found a while ago, and I think it's called Ollie Oop, where you're just a beagle that rides around on a skateboard, and you can put hats on yourself, and it's incredible. It's everything that a game should need ever.
Wow. Chihuahua. Everything.
Yeah.
There we go. So it's capturing my photographic prowess.
Yep. And if you got a specific photo that you like of a specific breed, you can change it.
Right. I'm quite a big fan of my pitbull picture.
I mean, yeah, you would never change that. That's the perfect pitbull picture.
So we've got different dogs and actions being captured. This is the chasing Pomeranian.
Very nice.
Lovely.
Nice Bichon freeze there for you. And a little
See,
raincoat.
so I go home to Manic to just review my Puppypedia and look at my photos.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's have a look down at the pier. That doesn't let me. Go to the shop. Don't have enough for this. So I guess we do need to get back to.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it should let you go to the pier. I'm not sure why it's not, but if it's not ready for you, then it's not ready.
So Pupperazzi is available on Game Pass. And this is Game Pass on PC as well as I think on Xbox. So guy, you get to pet dogs and throw sticks. Throw sticks, and some dogs will go and get them.
The fun thing about this game as well is the further you go, the more kind of gameplay they introduce. So it doesn't just become a photography game. There are puzzle elements where you have to figure out how to get to special places, or how to get the dogs to do something that you're not sure, like, you know, how to arrange.
Feeding a banana to a dog there.
There you go. That's
Didn't seem
perfect
too
for a picture.
interested. It was not too sure about that one. Let's just
Yeah, a great game for after a long day, especially if you don't have a dog at home that you can actually do this in real life with.
With a big banana smile.
Beautiful. I mean, I think that's the one. That's the picture of the day.
That is. I'm going to post that to Dognet. What's it playing with? That would be a banana. There we go. So this is Pupperazzi, available on Game Pass, and satisfying all your dog photography needs. I'd suggest you go and check it out and just chill out with it. Not too much rage in the chat today, which is nice. Maybe I'm a better dog photographer than I am a city builder.
Apparently so.
Pupperazzi, go and check it out, and yeah, have some fun with that one. See if I can switch us back.
Oh, I'm not gonna get a disco today.
No, but we do still have Pupperazzi music. There we go. So yes, that was Pupperazzi, and yeah, that was an enjoyable experience. Probably couldn't tell I'd never played it before with my photographic mastery. But yeah, I wanted to have a little chat today. Last week we talked about video game websites, and we kind of mentioned about having a primary focus, and we mentioned this idea that sort of an early focus for your site might be this, what we call the excite and inform phase. So this is kind of like the early announcement phase of a game, which in my perspective is one of the most challenging times for games marketing. And yeah, I just thought we could perhaps have a little chat about some observations, comments, challenges, and thoughts around this idea. What are some of the challenges and opportunities of your early stage games marketing? So yeah, when you are perhaps just lifting the lid on your project, and I guess some of the considerations, they will apply across the board, whether you are an indie individual startup, or perhaps an established AAA. There's going to be something for everyone to consider during this phase. I've been interested in this. I attended a talk a few years back, and there was a panel of games marketers and PR people, and they were asked the question, it's kind of from the perspective of limited budget, like what's the one thing that you would do if you had to, and you were very tight on budget, what's the one thing you would do? And unanimously, everybody on the panel just said a really good game trailer. If that's all you can do, get a great game trailer. And arguably, I've seen and spoken to people in the AAA space, huge big budgets, like a really good, really well placed, really well timed trailer can do a lot of the work for you. And equally, yeah, sort of from the indie side of things, like that's going to be your most compelling asset for communication. Would you agree with that? Do you think a really good trailer is your MVP of game announcements?
For sure. And I think, they always say, a picture tells 1,000 words and a video will tell 1,000,000 more. There are so many really cool and complex things in video games that sometimes can be really difficult to describe in still screenshots or describe in kind of word format. But if you show someone a video of your game, even if it's early based, even if it's like a story trailer with no gameplay, it lets you put across all of those ideas, those themes, those visual aesthetics that can catch people's attention. And, we're very visual creatures. If we see a trailer that we kind of like the look of, it will usually keep our attention a lot more than, for example, if someone wrote out the short description of their game on Twitter. It's just how we are. So being able to have that really impactful first trailer, like Dan says, it can do so much of the talking for you, get that attention, and probably is the best way to spend your time and money, because it's not easy to make a good trailer, and that's the thing. It needs to be thought about, but it can do a lot of good for your follower marketing.
Absolutely, that's quite an evergreen, or certainly long-standing asset as well. So if you do have you've got a long development cycle, your trailer can communicate a lot. You can chop it up, you can deploy it to different platforms, you're going to get a lot of insights. So yeah, I definitely think that you can't underestimate the importance. However, it's not always an option, and we've certainly had worked with people who are very restricted on the assets they have. The game's not ready, or they didn't have the budget for the trailer that they want to make, which is coming down later, but for whatever reason they've got to start talking about the game now. So if you've got any thoughts or ideas for anybody who's perhaps they're somewhat restricted on assets, maybe they're limited on details for the game, but they want to start working on building their audience, and any tips for somebody in that position?
Yeah, so I think, and this applies to be honest, to everyone, but especially to someone who doesn't maybe have the time or the funds to be able to invest in these really intensive assets, which are, quite time consuming and money consuming to create, is, your game is going to be your core asset. If you're working on your game, you have something to show people. And I think what a lot of people think when they're starting in the space is they think they have to have, really high quality screenshots of the final build, and they have to have a really fancy trailer, and they have to have all these things figured out. But really what we see a lot is if you have an idea that people are interested in, they will love seeing the early version. They will love seeing your prototype. They will love seeing it without all the bells and whistles, because the idea is good. And I think if you're spending the time on creating your game and you're really thinking about, what makes it special, what kind of people are going to be interested in it, you can just take a little GIF of your process and put it on Twitter, and that alone will be an asset for you. And if you're doing it in a strategic way and not just kind of posting random stuff, because obviously that can be quite hit and miss. If you're doing it really strategically, you're thinking about your audience, you're thinking about what it is about your game that you want to show off, that's your asset right there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of games that I've loved recently, I first saw on Twitter as a prototype of like a ball with nothing on it. I'm using Webbed as an example because that started and that went quite viral, because there was literally just like a green background and a ball just shooting webs around. And that was it. It wasn't polished, but just looking at it and being able to understand what it was and getting a bit excited about it was like, okay, this is marketing. People are invested. If you've got a good product. Absolutely.
I think they've kind of, there's several studios kind of popularized this idea of open development, and I think like I say, people are really interested in what's going on sort of behind the curtain, and you can also get a real good feel for have we got that lightning in a bottle. Like you mentioned about Webbed, and their early prototype blows up. So that's a really strong indicator that actually this is worth pursuing and sort of running with. I think as well, you kind of mentioned the process of game creation will surface lots of interesting tidbits and potentially useful assets. So if you're working in a marketing capacity, I think it pays real dividends to build your relationships with your dev team, producers, your game designers, and just don't be a we sort of refer before about how kind of marketing teams can sometimes be seen as the suits over the wall kind of thing. Like just get in there, get integrated, and share your challenges with them. And because a lot of these people, when they're working on something, they don't realize the gold that they're sat on, and they'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to keep refining and iterating, but there's something in this. Like, you want to be there for those moments and try and encourage capturing and sharing of those moments, and even like bugs as well. Like that can be a huge thing. Like bugs are hilarious.
People love bugs. My God, they love them so much.
So there's just so much gold that people are unaware of in the development process. So yeah, get in amongst it and build your relationships with these people that are in the production teams. I think another real powerful opportunity for people who are limited on assets and maybe the game is just too early is the role community management can play. And the folks over at No More Robots did a really great job with Descenders, we've mentioned before, where before they even announced the game, they set up their Discord and they started challenging the community to pick a side. And it's kind of like, pick a side for what? We don't have the context, but people did it. And then they started running competitions like design an outfit or all these kinds of things, and just really, really, I guess, kind of teasing at some of the elements of the game without actually having any of the game manifested at this point. That was really effective. Another kind of similar vein is people organising ARGs, so an alternate reality game, which is a mystery or a kind of playable experience of some sort that you hold in the real world, or with kind of digital crossovers. So it's not actually the game itself, it's just some other kind of hint or clues towards what might be going on in the game. But again, you can just start building community activity, building buzz, associate your studio with this activity, tease some of the elements that might be going on. Again, it's just another opportunity to have fun. Use some of the skills that you've got. It's a really good opportunity to start your world building or some of your backstories. We talk a lot about this idea of the extended experience. You can start with your origin stories and bury it in an ARG or in a podcast or any of these things. Just kind of really scratch around it. Where this game is going, and we're not going to reveal any of the details, but we can take cues and hints from it. One of the I think one of the biggest challenges for games marketers, communications people, and particularly community teams is this idea of building an audience from scratch. So we've got this game, it's underway, maybe we've got a trailer that we can leverage, but on day one there is nobody in our audience. What would be your first steps starting from ground zero, Ty?
I think starting from ground zero, it kind of goes back to some of the things that we talked about last time about, making it as easy for yourself at the very start by figuring out what you're trying to do and who are the people that are going to be the best people to get into your community. Because if you understand who your audience is, already you can start planning ahead and thinking, okay, where are they? How can I talk to them? What can I say? What is my content going to be? So, one game might be aimed at, these are very random examples off the top of my head, might be aimed at like people over 40 who live in America. I don't know. And you start thinking, okay, that's our audience. Okay, well, if I go on TikTok and start making TikTok videos to try and get my community, am I really going to be reaching my audience? Maybe, depending on other factors. But really understanding, where are they hanging out and what is going to appeal to them. So I think your example of Descenders is a really good one, because really what they really understood there is, hey, people who are going to really engage with this game that we're creating, they're probably kind of fairly savvy in the gaming in kind of ecosphere. They know what Discord is. So Discord might be quite a fun way to get them engaged, getting all these competitions and challenges up for maybe like more of a younger, more active audience, etc. Because that's going to make it much easier for you. And one thing I'd say is go out and test it. At the very beginning, see where the fish are. That's a weird analogy. I was going to say something about hooks, but just see where the interest is. Post on Reddit, look on Twitter, see what's out there. And the most important thing, I think, for me, when you start any kind of marketing, whether that's with a trailer or with a community building or anything, is have a place for people to go or have something for them to do. We always say, like, no matter what you're doing, no matter how early you are, you need to have some kind of call to action somewhere, because the worst thing would be if you get an amazing trailer out, you get all this attention, you get people really engaged, and that's the end of their journey. If there's no Twitter for them to follow, there's no email newsletter for them to sign up to, if there's no Steam page, if there's no Discord, all of that work kind of disappears, and you kind of almost have to start from scratch. So I think when you're starting, make it easier for yourself by really understanding where you're trying to get to and how you're going to do that, and just find a way to keep that audience as well. I think absolutely. Retention can be quite hard.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's so important to. like you say, identify who that audience is, and then you've got to put in the legwork and go to them, go and find where are they hanging out, what are the memes that resonate with this audience, what are the things, and participate as well. You can start to build your own network by taking part in these other communities, and you'll just get a much better feel for it. You cannot just create a space and expect people to discover you, and especially early on, you've got to leverage your existing network, get out, identify the audience, go and join them in theirs, participate, and then once you understand it, start to sort of introduce some of your spaces that you want to introduce them to. And exactly as Ty said, have a destination for when that moment happens, and consider that journey, make it a really enjoyable experience. Recognize when people join your Discord, be there and welcome them and ask them a question or signpost the latest cool thing. It is extremely difficult and it's a lot of work, but it's not going to happen any other way. On the flip side to that, let's say we are we've got an existing IP, we've got a big audience already. Arguably, this is a lot better of a situation to be in. You've got kind of this low-hanging fruit of our existing audience that enjoyed our first game, and maybe we're making the next game. However, maybe there are still some challenges with that. Do you have any thoughts or gotchas that you might have in that scenario?
I think just looking at the market and some kind of examples of studios that have gone through that, I think one thing that I see that sometimes happens is I think what you call success bias, and that's kind of this understanding that a lot of the times, if a game goes really well, the first game of an IP or the first game of a series goes really well, it gets really engaged with. Sometimes there's this kind of feeling that, hey, we've done something really great and it's going to continue being great and people are going to keep loving it, etc. And what can sometimes happen is people make assumptions that unfortunately don't pan out for them, which means that the sequel can perform less well because maybe they didn't do as much marketing, or maybe they didn't think as much about the community building, or any number of things. And sadly, it's kind of the opposite effect of what they were hoping of, being a bigger success than before. They almost kind of lose that traction and lose that success. So I think that's something definitely to watch out for. No matter how successful your first game is, or the first of a series, or kind of the first of an IP or anything like that, think about how hard that was. It took a lot of work. It took marketing. It took all of that development. And while you will have a really good base to start from for the next time, on its own, sadly, that's just not going to cut it. Because if you want to be more successful, you're not going to just be able to utilize that group of people who are really passionate about your product. You'll need to find some others. And sometimes that can be even harder for a second game, because with your first one, you already kind of captured that niche that you were going for. And trying to find new people outside of that can be quite tricky.
Absolutely, and things change, don't they? Like
things change,
and we've got such short and ever shortening attention spans, and it takes a long time to build your next game. So yeah, that idea of just relying on that audience, they will be gone onto the next shiny thing that distracted them. I completely agree. The kind of being complacent is really, really dangerous territory. But still, I'd say you are in a better position to build on an existing audience, but certainly don't take them for granted.
Sure. I'd just like to call out something that Steve said in chat. Thank you, Steve. That going back to our previous point about starting from scratch, Steve says maybe not good for starting from absolute scratch, but I've seen good examples of using Kickstarter campaigns as a means to gather a community. It's risky if you're using Kickstarter for actual dev funds, as in you won't make enough as an indie game, but it does work to get engaged users and build a community. And I think that's a really great point, Steve. Completely agree. There are so many different marketing activities that can be used, something like Kickstarter, something like early access as well, to kind of, I don't want to say kickstart the process because that sounds like
Too on the nose.
Kickstarter process of getting people on board, getting people excited, validating your idea as well. What I will say with Kickstarter, because I have been involved in running Kickstarters, mostly for indie games, but in itself, a Kickstarter isn't really like a marketing activity in itself, because you need to work really hard to market a Kickstarter. So it can be really useful if it fits in within your strategy. But something I do see people fall into, both with Kickstarter but also with early access, because they do have some similarities, is that people will think, hey, if I put a Kickstarter out, that will market my game. And if you're a studio with a big audience already, if you already, had a successful time, that could work. I've seen some great ones that I've backed who, use that platform to get not just funding, but that awareness. But I think if you're starting from scratch, it can be a lot harder, because getting people to fund your game is tough. You're not just convincing them to back something that already exists. You're trying to convince them to put money into something you're promising. And if you're an unknown, that can be quite a difficult thing to sell. So completely agree. It can be part of a really great way of building community, building awareness, etc. But it needs to fit in with your overall kind of marketing objectives. And sometimes it costs more to run a Kickstarter than the money you'll actually get. So yeah, definitely maybe not always the best for fundraising.
Again, it comes down to that complacency. It is a tool in the artillery, but it's not a case of, oh, we'll chuck it on Kickstarter. Kickstarter isn't going to bring you an audience. It's going to give you a platform that you could potentially leverage to communicate and, send some of your own audience there, and then Kickstarter might reward you with, if you're getting traction with any of these kind of channels, there's a network effect that if they notice momentum and activity, they'll reward that with more attention. If you expect the activity and the attention to originate just by being there, that's just not how it works. But absolutely to leverage channels and go, like we said before, go where your audience are. If you've got an interesting invention that is going to be complementary to other similar things, and you can bring some of your own audience, like the norms of behaviors and communication are established in these platforms, so go along and play along with those rules, and you can boost you get the halo effect from being in those places. But you absolutely can't afford to be complacent. Just lastly, I feel like the early stage, whilst it's extremely difficult for games marketers, there's also it's extremely fertile land for getting very early, inexpensive feedback. Perhaps like the learnings you can, and we touched on this last week as well, kind of the insights you can get at this early stage. Such a great time to learn, like, what are the standout features? When we mention features, which ones resonate with our audiences, or which ones are just falling flat? And you can actually inform your entire dev cycle from the feedback loop that you've got in these early stages. And it's much better to make these realizations at the outset than just before you've done your 2, 3, 4, 5 years worth of development, and then you find out actually this audience doesn't care about gun upgrades. They want to go and explore planets, and we've only got a tiny bit of that, but we've spent 2 years with our gun development capabilities. So I think whilst there's some massive challenges, there's some really big opportunities to get feedback, measure what's resonating with your audience, which comms are landing with who, which channels are working, and kind of which are the components that stimulate conversation, and have that virality that we're all searching for. And if you're intentional about that, you can perhaps use this time to your advantage, whilst the risks are relatively much lower. Any final thoughts, Taya?
No, I think that's a really good overview. I'm a big fan of marketing as testing, especially at that early stage when maybe you don't have as much to show. What you do show can be really evocative for getting feedback. If you're if your screenshot of the planet and exploring is getting so many more likes than your screenshots of guns, I mean, I'm not saying you should completely change your entire game, but it can be quite indicative of what people are interested in, and therefore where you can focus that time. And like little bits like that, it can be really easily done through just your normal marketing strategy. So what you're putting on your website, what you're putting on social media, what kinds of things you're doing in your newsletters. You know, A/B testing, we kind of mentioned last time. Again, you can do that as part of your comms. So lots of really cool tools in things like MailChimp for newsletters, for example, where you can literally say, hey, for these 50% of people, we want to have this picture first, but we want this picture second. See how that affects engagement. You know, are people really into your all I can think of now is exploration games with guns. Are people really into your cosmetic items that your characters wear that you can collect, or are people more into like the animals that you can ride? I don't know what game I'm thinking of, but yeah, a really good way of being able to use that time and really inform your development.
Excellent. Well, we've completely gone over time, so sorry, folks. But you know, we get into a discussion. We were taking photos of dogs. I was enjoying myself, so yeah, we've run with it. But thank you all for joining us. If you haven't already, please do follow. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. You can find us Etch Play on Twitter. We're everywhere. Tyre, thank you very much for joining me again. And who knows, maybe we'll have a change of face next week for the masses. But thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
I'm gonna go and take some more photos of dogs.
Do it.